Kathy Fagan's here with me. Kathy, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay, it's good to have you back. There was a big response the last time you were on, lots and lots of text, and even now Gemma has just texted in. Her text is about, she wants you to talk about her angels, wondering have her angels got messages. Now, you're not doing readings as such for people on air, because we'll be here literally all night and, tomorrow and all the rest. But you were saying to me there at the interval that people can find out who their angels are and get messages directly themselves.
Yeah, if someone goes into meditation and, they go in the meditation, if they take themselves to a place that, like a favourite place that they like,
yeah,
and if they go there and sit down, obviously you're going to choose to sit down on a seat somewhere within this place, and actually ask your angels to come forward, and whenever you're there and the angels come forward, because they will do, and ask them their name, and they will give you a name. And I always say to people, go with the first name that comes to you.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter how silly it sounds or
could be
anything
Eric.
else. Absolutely.
Apologies to all Erics out there.
One girl, she actually said that her angel was called Poppy, and she said in a million years she would never have chosen that name.
It's not a biblical
herself.
name, really.
No, exactly. So that's what I would suggest to people is, there's one thing people go and asking someone like myself all the time for, answers to their questions. But, the angels expect us to ask them, our own angels.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do go in and tune in and go into the meditation, get the name of your angel, and then start to basically commune with them, and you will get answers.
And do you have more than one angel?
Some people do, yes.
But everybody has an angel?
Yes, absolutely.
There's nobody without one?
No. Once we're born and we come onto this planet, we are assigned a guardian angel.
Okay.
Others will come in throughout our lifespan at different, stages, and they will work with us through different things.
And will they go again? Or kind of?
Yes.
Could you have an entourage of angels by the time you get to your time to leave?
Some people actually do go through a number of angels, but the one who is assigned to you at the very beginning will be the one who will stay with you throughout and will be there with you to the very end.
Okay. I brought you on this week. I wanted to talk about signs, divine intervention.
Yeah.
And it's something that I hear a lot of stories about, but some of the stories you have are absolutely fascinating, where angels have, the last time you were on, you were talking about the fact that they would warn you of traffic accidents.
Yeah, that's right. My own, for me, for a fortnight before the accident happened, I was being shown, the car gone over a hedge, and I knew that it was myself, but obviously I didn't want that to happen, and I kept shaking it out of my mind, saying God forbid, but it happened, and it was a sign, and it was there for a fortnight beforehand. So, yes, they do happen all the time. Okay,
tell us about some of the other signs, some of the way they've intervened.
Well, there's lots of people out there, and, whether they recognise the signs or not, but, there's loads of people who, I've spoke to that would tell me that they have seen angels. And, I don't doubt it for 1 second, because when they talk to me and explain what they've seen, it's just totally amazing. And I know exactly where they're coming from with it. Other people talk about the white feathers. Whenever, they ask their angels for signs, a lot of them would say, please, angel, show me a little white feather, And it's the feathers, they turn up in the most unlikely places, and, very often in the most unlikely times as well. When sometimes we're looking and we miss it. But these feathers, they really do turn up, Then you get other people who will tell you about, times when they were really low, or they were at their wits' end and really, really scared and panicking over something, and they've asked for divine assistance, and again, something happens. And as I say, for myself, I remember when I was working in Dungannon, and one girl, she called me over. I was walking up the square, and the girl called me over. She said, "Here, Kathy," she says, "my friends tell me that you work with the angels and do this type of work." She says, "But to be quite honest," she says, "I don't believe in any of this rubbish." She says, "I have to be honest with you." And I said, "Well, each to their own. I'm not here to convert you. You
don't get insulted by that kind of thing.
No, not at all.
You don't take it personally.
Absolutely." And she said to me, "Well, wait to hear the crack." She says, "My friends talk about feathers." She says, "Did you ever hear the like of it?" She says, "They say that the angels and our loved ones can send us a wee sign with a white feather." She says, "Did you ever hear such rubbish in your life?" And I said, "No, I know this is true." And I said, many, many times I've asked for signs, with the white feather being the sign that I've asked for. I said, and I just, as I was talking, I moved my hand out, and put my hand out in front of me, And I said, and I just ask all the time. And as I did that, a white feather just came right down out of the middle of the sky, as we say, and landed in the palm of my hand.
Okay.
And the girl, she nearly fell out through the window of the Jeep. And, honest to God, ever since it, She has went and she has told everybody that story.
She's converted.
Absolutely.
There's a couple of texts in to meet here, 085 105 2107. Dragonboy wants to know, are these angels, are the religious higher power figures, or the more spiritual figures, or as in angels from God? So what are they?
Yeah, well, they are messengers. Basically, that's what angels are. They are the highest source connected to God. And
were they ever human? Because Sylvia's text in said, Paul, can you ask Kathy, can your angel be someone who's passed on that you were very close to?
Very often we say that our loved ones who've passed on, you know, that they are spirit guides. We are told that there's very few angels that have ever been in human form. So, you know, that's my belief on it.
It says in the Bible, at the beginning somewhere, Genesis, it talks about the angels came down and they intermarried with people.
Yeah.
And last week on the show, we were covering an bizarre archaeological find where they found these 8-9 foot, even I think it was 12 foot tall people. And it seemed would add evidence to the fact that maybe these angels did come down, because angels in biblical times were supposed to be really big, tall guys and girls. I suppose they're probably sexless, but they, you know. Yes. And then you have the small little cherub ones, kind of little balls of light. But it's interesting, isn't it, that they found these like 12 foot tall skeletons that obviously have come from somewhere.
Well, you know, they've come from somewhere, you know, but as we say, there are other planets out there and there are other life forms. I don't know very much about it, you know, to be quite honest. All I know is that there are angels and that they are messengers from God. They are from a higher source and that they are here to help us in every way that they can. You know, the only thing that they can't do is interfere with our free will.
Right, they can advise you, but they can't make you.
No, absolutely not. You know, and
or you can't blame them if something happens. And
no, you can't. Plus, at the fact, if it is your time to go home, as we say, your time to die, they can't stop that from happening either.
Okay, somebody's texted in. There's no name in this one. Kathy, I was with my boyfriend yesterday when a white feather landed on his shoulder, but no one's seen it but me. What does this mean?
Very simply, it's just. What I would say to that is that, you know, he has someone watching over him very, very closely, and there may be something that's happening in and around him at this time where he does need just a little bit more, you know, watching over.
You're a natural on radio. Michelle has just texted in and said, I'm delighted to hear her beautiful voice again.
Oh, that's lovely.
You've got a fan. If you got a question for Kathy, now again I must say that she's not doing angel readings for people, because we would be here all night and it'd be just too much time taken up with that. But if you've got questions on angels, or if you've got your own stories about divine intervention signs, text them in to me here, 085 105 2107. Next up, Snow Patrol, You're All That I Have.
If you don't ask, you can't win.
8:15 tomorrow morning, the Prowler will be back with Bernard and Keith. Tune in to breakfast. 8:15, you'll hear the Prowler's first clue of the week. All you have to do then to win the bounty is to ask the question, are you the I-105 107 Prowler? I was nearly asked that question myself. I was there standing outside the bank with my balaclava on, waiting for it to open, and somebody said, no, not me, thanks for asking. But remember, if you see any dodgy, suspicious looking people around, he could be anybody, you have to ask him, are you the I-105 107 Prowler? And if he is, you win yourself 500 quid, which is very, very nice. So you can check out more details on i105107.ie/the Prowler. Kathy's still here, and Kathy's a couple of texts have come in just in the break there. She says, hey Paul, my girlfriend's mother is mad into her angels. She said she could see black feathers upon me. Is that a good sign or a bad? From Stevie. Is that just the wicked mother-in-law syndrome?
No, people ask me about black feathers all the time. You know, people find them, and I would say to them, you know, there are black angels as well.
Are they evil? Amy's just texted in there on the screen. Are they evil angels? Do you believe in that?
There are dark angels, you know, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they've got black feathers.
Right.
You know, I remember speaking to a girl one time, and she told me about her and her husband being away out in America, and there was a really, really heavy snowfall, and their Jeep got stuck, and there wasn't a car around them for miles, and they were really bogged in, and they had the kids in the car as well, and they really, really started to panic. And as it turned out, these two black guys came out of absolutely nowhere. There wasn't even a vehicle with them, and they just turned around. The two guys were there, and they started to lift the back of the Jeep and got it back onto the road. And whenever her and her husband turned around to thank them, they were gone. And she believes to this day that these two big black guys were her angels. Yeah.
Okay, more texts coming in to meet your 085 105 2107. Paul, text for Kathy. 13 years ago, when in 6th year, sitting on a wall, a crow landed beside me. Told my mum someone in the family was going to die. It occurred 4 days later. from Sylvia. So you took it as an omen, Sylvia, that because this black crow landed on the wall beside you, that somebody was going to die, or did you channel that? I don't know what way it works.
It does depend on how you perceive it. There are stories and old folklore that would say that, you know, if birds tap on windows and things like that, that it's a sign of a death, or if a bird comes into the house. A robin, a lot of people are suspicious of robins because of that, you know, case, you know, where they think that someone's going to die. But myself, you know, I had a wee bird that was tapping on the window there a couple of weeks back, and it tapped for about 3 or 4 days consistently. And for me, I wasn't one bit afraid, because I just took it that it was a messenger with a sign that something good was going to happen. And as it turned out, I've been on the show twice since. So, you know, is
that good or bad? That's yet to be seen.
It depends how you perceive it.
I remember you telling me that, and I was telling you that same week I had a little bird, a little finch, tapping on my window, and a friend of mine said it's got to do with mating season. Sees his reflection in the mirror and think it's, you know.
Yeah, you can look at it that way as well. You know, it just depends on how you really perceive it. And I always say to people, don't always look on the negative side, because what you put out there is what you get back at times. I
got up one morning and there was a blackbird flapping at the back door, and I was thinking, right, okay, I was home late last night, and I left the back door open when I was taking stuff in out of the car, but a blackbird wouldn't be out at night. How did it get in at night? So I opened the door. The blackbird was kind of all flustered and shiting all over the place, and let it out. That was fine. And the next day I was working with a client doing hypnosis and relaxation in the sitting room. Luckily I hadn't actually got into the hypnosis, we were just doing the talking part at the start, and I heard this kind of rustle in my ear, and I thought, oh no, it's coming down the fucking chimney. And sure enough, I just said to the client, there's a blackbird going to come out the chimney, and she thought I must be bloody amazing to be able to predict this. And next thing, just pull back the fire guard, this blackbird comes swoosh out, kind of flustered, and I just go, I hope he doesn't land on her jacket. And I just opened the window and let it out, as if it was just entirely normal. It happens every session.
Yeah. These things do happen. You know, things do happen just quite simply. You know, birds do nest in chimneys, and, you know, it isn't.
But you see, there's a cowl on the top of my chimney. I don't know how the bloody thing got in, and how did it do it twice?
There is a way in. You need to check it out.
It must be mental, this bird. Somebody else texted in, does your spirit guide have to be someone you know that passed on? It's a little bit like the earlier one. Your angels are they people that you know? But your spirit guide, it doesn't have to be.
No, it doesn't have to be. No, it doesn't. You know, there are guides out there who will be assigned to us at certain times in our lives to help us with certain problems, or just basically to give us guidance to help us to move forward, but definitely not always someone who belonged to us.